Hey guys, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and it is Sunday, so we are doing breaches of the week. And before we get started, I'd like to thank Chris Fowlon and David Walker for sending in tips. And if obviously you have tips, please feel free to send them my way. It always helps me out, and I am always appreciative of people that help me here with this kind of stuff because it's a lot of work. Now, that said, let's dive right in. And this week is kind of unlike any other week out there in the sense that I think it's actually going to be the shortest one we've had in quite some time, even though we've got a good chunk to discuss. So let's dive right in. We're going to be starting with the city of Woodstock. This is Woodstock in Ontario, Canada. Now, a virus is basically stopping that city from accessing its email and data network. And while it looks like ransomware, no formal demand for compensation has been made yet that I could find or that has been reported in news outlets. So we'll see what's going on with the city of Woodstock. Maybe somebody just had a grudge. I don't know. Let's stick with Ontario, Canada for a while because two southwestern Ontario hospitals basically connected by shared infrastructure are currently going through cyber attacks, and obviously this is a very serious issue. So the Listowel Wingham Hospitals Alliance, which oversees the Listowel Hospital about 50 kilometers north of Stratford, and the Wingham Hospital in southeast Huron County confirmed this past Thursday that they're currently experiencing network issues due to what appears to be a cyber attack. So if you have anything to do with any one of those hospitals, heads up, service may be disrupted for you. Moving on, we're going to be talking about a company called Demant. They are a manufacturer of something called the Oticon, which is a hearing aid. They said they are expecting to lose up to 650 million kroner, which is about $95 million US, following a cyber attack early this month. Now, the company's servers basically suffered what they describe as a critical incident on September 3rd, disrupting the production and distribution of its products. So it's not that they're getting ransomed for 650 million kroner, it's that their production came to a grinding halt, and they're expected to lose that in terms of manufacturing, development, and supply. So that is a huge, huge problem. Moving on, let's talk about the Guthrie Public School District in Oklahoma. Officials are saying that they were victims of a cyber attack after somebody hit the district basically with the ransomware virus. Now, the superintendent, Mike Simpson, told local news that they were made aware of the situation on September 16th, but because of safeguards in place, no personal information was taken from students or parents. So I'm very happy to hear that, but obviously I think there's still some work that needs to be done for the Guthrie Public School District in terms of their cyber defense strategy. Moving on, we're going to be talking about Rheinmetall AG. This is a German corporation based out of Dusseldorf, and they are one of the largest defense contractors on the planet. They manufacture armored fighting vehicles, tanks, ammunition, and other electronic warfare systems. Malware infected this company's network, causing significant disruption at 3 plants in 3 different countries outside of Germany. Brazil, Mexico, and the United States have been impacted, and for security reasons, given what they do, no information or details has actually been released on what happened with the cyber attack, remediation, etc. So hopefully Rheinmetall AG, if you're related to them in some way, shape, or form, hopefully you're secure. Moving on, let's actually talk about DoorDash. And when I was looking up breaches of the week, this was page after page after page of reporting on DoorDash. If you're not familiar with DoorDash, this is actually now a major app, at least in the United States, I'm assuming around the world, where restaurants that don't normally have delivery service can sign up with DoorDash, and then you can go into their app and say, oh, I like this restaurant, and order the food from DoorDash. So this actually has filled a major gap, and they've completely exploded, and you know where I'm going with this. They had a data breach of almost 5 million consumers, dashers, which are the people that actually drive for them to pick stuff up, and merchants who signed up with this platform on or before April 15th of 2018, so about a year and 5-ish months ago or so. They learned of unusual activity earlier this month and launched an investigation, obviously with security researchers. The investigation determined that an unauthorized third party basically had access to DoorDash's user data on May 4th of 2019. The exposed data includes names, email addresses, delivery addresses, order history, phone numbers, as well as hash-salted passwords, the last 4 digits of payment credit cards, last 4 digits of bank account numbers for 100,000 dashers, those are their employees or contractors, and driver's licenses as well. So That is obviously an incredibly serious issue, and the reason why it is not the final thing we're going to be talking about today is because there is some actually more interesting things to discuss. Let's talk about Marriott right now. Now, if you remember last year, they got about 500 million of us or so breached, those people that stay at Marriott's worldwide. This is actually coming from law.com, and I quote, this is the latest update on this lawsuit, and this is why I'm bringing this up. Quote, "It's in motion to dismiss," Marriott insisted. In its motion to dismiss, Marriott insisted the breach caused no harm to its guest and attached a declaration by a former government official who wrote, "A U.S. passport is virtually impossible to forge successfully." Marriott is trying to get their data breach dismissed out of U.S. courts, basically claiming that the information that was exposed is pretty much worthless to hackers, and therefore it's kind of irrelevant. So in other words, it might be incredibly hard to breach a passport here, which is what their claim is, but what about all the other personal information enough to run an identity theft scam on? I'm hoping the U.S. courts do the right thing and allow the breach lawsuit to proceed against Marriott, but we'll see what happens, and I will definitely keep you up to date there. The next one that we're going to be talking about is actually the Black Flag Brewing Company. They have a data breach, and they have a really cool data breach because this data breach is actually a beer they're calling Data Breach. Apparently, it's a blackberry milkshake IPA out of New Zealand. And quite frankly, if I'm ever down under or in New Zealand, I am definitely having a Data Breach beer. I thought that was pretty funny. And finally, we'll turn a little more serious again. We're going to be talking about Palm Bay, Florida, and also Ames, Iowa. Now, let's start with Palm Bay. Their officials are advising customers who have paid their utilities online to make sure no fraudulent charges have been made because they basically said that their city software, the software that their city uses, was a target of a cyber attack. Ames, Iowa is claiming the same thing for paying online of parking tickets within Ames, and that would have affected about 1,500 citizens in Ames. I did not get a number on Palm Bay. But here's the thing, and here's why we're talking about this last, is that these are both declaring data breaches as a result of the 2018 ClickToGov data breach from late in 2018. So that was almost a year ago that data breach happened. I remember reporting on that, and for weeks I was reporting on various local cities, municipalities, small governments, basically saying we got hit with the ClickToGov. Everything rolled out in about a month or so, and here we are almost 1 year later, where now they are coming out and saying this. I do not know if this is ClickToGov notifying these two cities late, or if these two cities literally just started dragging their feet to kind of let the dust settle so it would look a lot smoother. A lot of times what happens when we see in breaches is that they try to fly under the radar. We have some massive breach that comes out like a Marriott. We tend to start to see a slew of smaller data breaches out there. And by virtue of that, they try to fly under the radar. Not for me, but for most of the world, because I do my homework. But here's the thing. This week, we had a major breach. And literally, as I'm looking this stuff up, the first 10 pages of Google was probably 95% DoorDash. That's a perfect time to try to slip a data breach through, and here we are. So they might have been strategically waiting for a DoorDash to do this, or maybe ClickToGov said, you know what, DoorDash hit or something else big, so let's go ahead and start notifying more cities, and maybe ClickToGov has been withholding information, lying about their original breach, for whatever reason, to try to offset the problem, because odds are people are still using ClickToGov, assuming they're not out of business. So I think that's too long for disclosure. I think one of the biggest problems we have are disclosure laws that allow companies to sit on this or make their best guess and absolutely lie. I will look at Equifax for that. They came out and said 142 million, and then they continue to raise that. I think we're up another 50 to 100 million right now, and that won't end. But once the dust settles, they have no problem just saying, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and release even more information now, because the anger is over and it's just par for the course, and nobody's going to really figure out just how bad this actually was. Yahoo did the same thing, starting with 500 million mailboxes and eventually ending up over time, years, 3 billion plus. So take that for what it's worth. And those are your breaches of the week. But heads up, the numbers you hear on a data breach may not necessarily be all those that are affected. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me on YouTube. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, guys.